Get her in. Ladies and gentlemen, make yourselves comfortable. I am Kent Garrison.
I'm Brian Gill.
And I'm Richard Barton.
And this is Mad
About
Movie.
Da, 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 da. You sound insane. You realize that? Yeah. The whole world gone crazy. Seriously? It's showtime.
Mad About Movies is a podcast where we take you on a journey through the world of cinema. This week, we are going to be going over the Oscar-nominated film
Argo.
I got an idea.
They're a Canadian film crew for a science fiction movie.
I fly into Tehran. We all fly out together as a film crew.
I need you to help me make a fake movie.
So you want to come to Hollywood and act like a big shot without actually doing anything?
Yeah.
You'll fit right in.
Likely to win Best Picture, I think, at this point. We can say that pretty safely.
I think we can say that. What's your pick, Brian? Is it Argo?
If I had a vote, I would have voted Zero Dark 30. But Argo would have been my second choice, so I'm not going to complain about that if it ends up winning.
Right. I'm not either. And we're excited about this one today. A very entertaining movie and very controversial for a number of ways. And so stoked to dive into this one with you gentlemen today. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good. I'm a little under the weather, so if I sneeze into the microphone, I'm going to trust that you can edit that out in post-production or something.
No, I can't. So pressure's on.
I'll try to control it. If not, listeners.
I saw Brian on Monday, and I'm now just getting...
Richard, are you
sick?
sick?
I'm getting over. I'm on the other side of that. So my voice is still weird, but I feel fine. So I'm most likely the culprit that got Brian sick because I saw him Monday. It's now Thursday.
Yeah, we should stop making out. That's a problem.
Yeah, we really should.
Yeah, y'all's relationship is mainly physical.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wouldn't even say mainly.
Yeah.
Only, pretty much.
Only, yeah.
Only. Yeah. Right. Well, I'm going to ask you this, Brian. What's the last movie you saw?
The last movie I saw was the award-winning, sure to be up for Best Picture in the coming year, A Good Day to Die Hard, which...
Oh wow! I've heard good things.
Well,
no pun intended.
Not listen to those people ever.
I'm just kidding.
Because it is horrible.
And by good things, I mean awful things.
Yeah. It's a brutal movie. It's not good at all. And I love action movies. Like I'm a big fan of even cheesy action movies or kind of over the top stuff. But this one offended me on most levels. So. I would say stay away, especially if you're a fan of the Die Hard franchise, because it's not a Die Hard movie. It's an action movie that the filmmakers decided to throw John McClane into the middle of. It's appalling in a lot of ways. So stay away.
Well, I'm glad you seem to have the majority's opinion on that one. I was afraid you would love it for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, in some levels, I feel bad about judging it so harshly because I think I said this in my review that if it wasn't a Die Hard movie, it probably isn't that bad. But when you put it into the same category as what I consider to be the greatest action movie of all time, when you make it part of that franchise, it has to on some level at least live up to that standard, and it's bad. It's not even close. So.
Richard, did you see A Good Day to Die Hard?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't think I've seen any of them except the first one.
Oh, wow. I've seen the first three. I haven't seen...
No, wait. I saw the one with Justin Long.
That's
the
one.
Live Free or Die Hard?
Live Free or Die Hard.
I saw that one.
That needs to be seen.
Sure.
That was the computer hacking one?
Yeah.
The cybercrime.
Yeah, that one would have been awesome if it was made in 1998. Unfortunately, it's made in like 2007 or something, right?
If it was the sequel to The Net, it would have been great.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
No, I don't mind the fourth Die Hard movie. I think it's got its moments. They're fun. I went back and watched them all before I watched this new travesty. And
so that added to the disappointment.
Yeah. The first, I don't know how you guys feel. The first, like I said, the first one, the original Die Hard is the greatest action movie of all time to me. And the second one's kind of terrible.
Really?
But it has its moments. The third one's great. And I enjoy the fourth one for what it is. This one just doesn't need to exist. I don't know. I was.
You
not,
had an interesting. I talked to you between makeout sessions on Monday, Brian. I talked to you about it, and you had an interesting point, and you should bring it up again here for the common man that isn't privy to your friendship. But
if I could remember what it was,
you said something about the script maybe not originally being a Die Hard script.
Yeah, I would like to believe that this started out as just
no. I think you're right.
I
think I've heard of something about that. Yeah,
I really feel like it doesn't. It seems like it was retooled and repurposed to be a Die Hard movie in order to get it through the meeting and whatnot to get it made. So that's always a terrible place to start, and so it completely lacks any of the comedy of the original movie, any of the humanity of it. I mean, John McClane is a real guy, and I mean, the first movie, he's got cut up feet from walking on glass and all this stuff, and it's very, yes, it's over the top, yes, it's a little bit crazy, but it's still somewhat realistic at the same time. This movie is basically the Expendables, or like outtakes from the Expendables. I mean, he's just blowing stuff up with monstrous machine guns and stuff, and it just, I don't know, it's lost all of the qualities of what I consider to be John McClane characteristics. So but yeah, to me it seems like something that was written to be a standalone action movie and got repurposed for Die Hard purposes, which is
you'll be excited to know, Brian, that they are working on another Die Hard. So At least at this point, they might redeem themselves. They could make an awesome movie. They could do all of Skyfall, and just blow it out of the water, make a great movie, great action movie.
Well, one of these days, we need to talk. We need to just do a podcast on Bruce Willis, because he's this guy that he's unsinkable in a strange way. I mean, this movie's terrible, but he's going to be in Die Hard 6. Okay, I'll see that. I have no ability to separate myself from him. And no matter how many awful movies he's in, he always seems to not only keep going, but after every third or fourth terrible movie, he'll come out with something that's really good. And then you're like, okay, see, I told you, this guy's awesome. And you just keep going.
You saw what is it? The Cold Light of Day.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Speaking of awful movies featuring Bruce Willis. Yeah. Now, that was one of the worst movies of the year. If I had seen it during 2012, it would have definitely made my worst 5 movies of the year. It's a mess. It is just, and I think Bruce Willis knows it's a mess too, because spoiler alert, his character dies very early on in the movie, and I at least like to think that he got on set and he had a bigger role, and then he kind of, after a day or two, he realized this is a piece of crap and just went to the director and said, "I'm leaving.
Please kill me.
Kill me off." Yeah. You either kill me off or I'm just leaving. I don't care, It's really bad, and it if you're nervous about
either kill me off or I'm leaving.
Yeah, figure out a way to write me out of the script right now. But if you are worried about Superman, as I have been a little bit here in the Man of Steel movie coming out, Cavill, this will not help that feeling, because Henry Cavill is really bad in this movie.
The only, and I feel like Christopher Nolan is kind of trying to distance himself away from the name of this new Superman movie. I mean, he's on it as a producer, but I mean, every interview it seems like he's trying to say, "No, I didn't really do much," or I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I have high hopes for Man of Steel, but who knows at this point? Henry Cavill has really no sort of track record of greatness.
Yeah.
So,
I've been on the. I'm thinking of, even though I think it looks pretty good, I've really enjoyed the trailers.
Sure.
I think it looks great.
I'm boycotting.
Trailers always look great, though.
I think I'm boycotting it because of my and Brian can attest to this, my long-standing John Hamm for Superman.
Right.
That I've been pushing for about 7
Oh wow, that would have been great.
for about 7 years.
Maybe next movie when he's a little bit older.
Yeah. Everyone always says, I know you didn't say that, but every time I bring up John Hamm for Superman, they always go, but he's too old. And I go, cool, do old Superman.
Right.
It's not that hard to figure out. Here's $100 million.
Right. Maybe have him a little bit jaded, maybe kill off something like that. I mean, Richard and I have talked about this quite a lot, and I think we just need to write a spec script and create our own mock Superman or something and go that route because the world needs John Hamm in that role. I think so. Nobody steal our idea.
I think you're onto something.
Yeah, that's ours.
What were y'all's thoughts on Superman Returns?
Masterful. No, it's a really weird movie.
Honestly,
I saw it opening day. I remember that.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen it since. I remember Kate Bosworth being eerily thin.
Yeah.
That's her name, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
I remember being really confused by Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
And I remember
Kevin Spacey of the highest order. Yeah.
Yeah. And The Ultimate Phone and In job by him.
Yeah.
And I remember not getting why they cast this no-name guy. That's it. That's the only things I remember the whole movie.
Yeah.
And wondering how that got made. But and really, Bryan Singer's only done good work, and so it's really weird that he just made it. He chose the biggest movie of his career just to make his worst movie.
Right.
Interesting. But yeah, that's it. Those are my only thoughts on the movie.
All right.
Score was good.
Speaking of Bryan,
score good.
It was the original Superman score. If it was John Williams.
So that was cool. I remember it was cool to see that on the big screen.
Which I understand the new one is not going to have, so it's a little bit disappointing.
Yeah.
I have seen trailers on YouTube that have the John Williams score edited over the new trailer, and it makes it 100 times better. It really does. It's iconic. So.
The only thing that could make this one better, it really is just some sort of involvement from Dean Cain, because to me, he's the original Superman.
I agree there. Yeah, you can't go wrong.
I mean, you got to have
really
Dean Cain involved somehow.
Exactly.
I don't know who Christopher Reeve is. Never heard of him. But Dean Cain, to me, is Superman. So if there's no Dean Cain, I'm out. I just want to say Dean Cain as many times as I could.
Well, you're in for a lot of disappointment. I'm sad to say for the next couple of years.
Hatcher?
That's the most Dean Cain's name has been mentioned in about 10 years. Like, we have audience members that were not born the last time that Dean Cain was relevant.
I think so.
I mean, his Rollerball remake was pretty sick, though.
It was. I think that was the last thing Chris Klein was in, too, besides American Pie movies. So always good to see Chris Klein, too.
Ozman.
He's on Wilfred. And
he is. Yeah. He's pretty funny on Wilfred.
He is funny on Wilfred. Anyway, go on.
Anyway, hey, I had some more superhero movie news. Have you guys heard about the new X-Men? I don't think we've talked about it on the podcast.
I know they're doing it, but I don't know anything about it. Is it the same people?
He's directing, isn't he?
Bryan Singer is directing. That's why I wanted to bring it up. He is back. Matthew Vaughn left. I can't remember what he's working on. But Matthew Vaughn was signed on. Because he did X-Men First Class,
which was very excellent.
I love that one.
A great day for Brian and I. The Mavericks came back to Oklahoma City.
He is a producer. He is still on as a producer, but he's not directing it. So Bryan Singer's back, but they've how they had all the old reboot characters like James McAvoy as Professor X and Fassbender as Magneto, but in this one they're apparently having both casts.
Okay,
like Ian McKellen is still going to be in it, and it's still going to have Patrick Stewart.
So it'll be
it's going to be basically X-Men. It's going to be X-Men 3. The Last Stand, that cast, plus the cast of X-Men First Class.
So Godfather 2-esque, right?
Plus Peter Dinklage.
Oh,
so
nice.
So there you go.
Cool.
I'm excited about that. That's an interesting.
I'm a little. I have mixed feelings because I loved what they had going on with the whole new cast. And I don't know what to think about. I mean, it could be brilliant the way they do it. I hope they do kind of flashbacks and flash forwards into the future.
No, I think it'll be cool which
could be brilliant.
Because I really, really like equally. It was so well casted, both casts. I love McKellen and I love Patrick Stewart, but I really liked. And I was not a McAvoy fan before that, but he really grew to be in that role. And Fassbender's obviously awesome. So yeah, I think that could be cool. That's very comic booky to have those flash.
But it even has the smaller characters such as Kitty Pryde, Ellen Page, and Anna Paquin still is in the new one, and Iceman too. So
what about?
I mean, they're They're bringing back everyone.
Here's my question: do we get the kid from Warm Bodies?
We do.
And
Yeah.
Kelsey Grammer. Let me finish my question, Kent. And Kelsey Grammer.
I doubt Kelsey
Okay,
Grammer.
Kent, do we get
this one.
Kelsey Grammer and the kid from Warm Bodies playing the same character?
Kelsey Grammer is not signed on, as far as I know.
Is
Unfortunately,
Dean Cain involved? Can we get Dean Cain?
No, Dean Cain is not. But believe it or not, a producer is Richard Donner,
Oh, cool.
the original director of Superman,
Yeah, right on.
and Bryan Singer and Matthew Vaughn. So I don't know. I loved X-Men First Class. So
you get the impression
we'll see about
that this is
not out till 2014. So we'll see. It's still a long time.
You kind of get the impression that this is Bryan Singer's attempt to make up for not doing X-Men Last Stand, and like I left to do this of bad Superman movie, and Brett Ratner made Last Stand a terrible
even then
movie.
We got
so
to see what Brett Ratner could really do, and so that's really
the Ratner. Yeah, that's true. So that we still have to endure the Wolverine, which is coming out this year. I don't think I'm going to see that one.
I'm totally in on that. Have you seen
that's a standalone. I have, but I'm not really into. I never got into the Origins. I don't know why they're doing another Wolverine movie after doing I already did an Origins Wolverine. Apparently, they were gonna do an Origins Magneto, but it got scrapped and they did First Class instead, and to reboot Magneto. So
it's probably
now they're doing just another Wolverine movie. I wish they could do a Magneto standalone. I'd see that. I'd be down for that.
Bad sign that.
With Fassbender?
No, but yeah, that'd be awesome. But it's probably a bad sign that Jackman's 2-second cameo in Origins was better than the entire first Wolverine movie.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah.
The 2-second cameo in First
Yeah,
Class.
First Class.
Where he drops the F-bomb. Yeah.
That was better than I'd much rather watch that than an entire Wolverine movie. Especially
I guarantee you, they asked him to do it, and he was like, I'll do it if I get the one F word you're allowed for PG-13. And they're like, go for it. And so they did it. That was funny, man. When I went to the premiere night of First Class, and when that scene came up, it was rousing laughter. I mean, erupted during that part.
Why don't you tell Kent about
because no one knew he was going to be in it.
Why that's the best day in the history of our friendship. that day.
Yeah. Richard and I went to see that at midnight at like the movie tavern or something, and that was game 2, wasn't it? That was the night that the Mavs came back from a 15-point deficit to beat the Heat in Miami in game 2 of the NBA Finals and turn around our hopes and dreams for our entire lives. And so we got to share the
Ryan was sitting and we stood up and we just hugged in front of everyone there.
Yeah. That's actually when we started making out most of the time was that night. But
yeah,
we did. We just hugged for like 10 minutes, and all these people were just kind of staring at us, and we didn't care. It just felt right. So
it's power of Dirk, baby.
That's right.
2011.
You can't deny the power of Dirk. No. You cannot.
Power of Dirk.
While we're on the subject of superhero reboots, Jamie Foxx is apparently going to be in a Spawn reboot.
Oh, really? I knew he was doing Spider-Man. I always kind of...
Yeah, he is doing Spider-Man, which they're filming right now, I believe, or about to be filming. New Spider-Man.
Mike White wasn't available again?
Oh, man.
Spawn, but Spawn's one of the... Spawn along with Blade are two of the movies and X-Men, or first X-Men, are those movies that really are responsible for this whole... why superhero movies dominate the movies. Absolutely. I mean,
also
back in
the
late
Snipes is out of jail. 2000s. Can we get another Blade?
Yes, please. Yeah, Spawn's an interesting movie. Spawn's one I think that falls into the conversation we were having earlier today off mic. The of movies that should have worked, that should have been bigger than they were. And I've got a friend that will claim that Spawn to this day claims that Spawn's the worst movie of all time, and I can't necessarily disagree with him, but that's one that you look at and you think that should have been huge, and they really kind of messed up the entire process. But
I just remember my stepdad when I was a kid would buy me a lot of Spawn figurines. I was always really confused because I wasn't into it. I hadn't seen the movie. He was like, well, the artwork on these things is great. And I was like, all right, I can't really play with these. They're weird devils.
Right.
Odd conversation to have.
Can't really take those to church. So.
Yeah. exactly. But I started putting on clown makeup, and the rest is history. That's gotta be the weirdest villain ever, right? Like, hey, we've got this villain, right? He's a fat, evil clown. Okay, so Danny DeVito, right? No. Hear me out. John Leguizamo.
Yeah.
What? Let's say he's a fat. Yeah. Let's put him in a fat suit. That had to be a real weird conversation. I killed the room with that one.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing up Spawn.
I guess whatever.
I didn't know you were done.
Yeah, I was done. But I mean,
waiting.
just okay, never mind. I'll just let it go. They can't.
Okay, we can only hope. We can only hope that it's gonna do better things for Spawn.
Yeah.
Let's just say that it can't do any worse. So I could buy into Jamie Foxx's Spawn.
Yeah,
so we'll see if that happens.
I'm on.
Well, some news that I can confirm for you guys that is Megan Fox has been cast as April O'Neil in the new Ninja Turtles movie.
Bring this up tonight, so I read up on the subject before the show. So,
well, since I'm the only one that brings news to the show, I had to bring it up, because it needs to be talked about. I knew you guys were too shy to talk about it, but it's Michael Bay, guys.
Okay,
it's Michael Bay.
Maybe one of you guys knows. Do we know if one of you guys knows? That's not a sentence. Do we know if they've changed the idea of making the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles aliens yet? Because there was serious outrage on the internet about the mythology of the Ninja Turtles. Are they going to keep this as aliens? Because I don't know if I can. I think I'm out on that. I don't want to see that at all.
I think they have addressed that. I think that was just kind of more blown out of proportion.
Okay.
But there is a script that is leaked online for it, and I have read a little bit of it, and it was absolutely terrible. So, and I heard it's been going through rewrites for like a year or 2 years straight. So, I don't know. You never know. I mean, it could be done really well with CGI. I mean, you never know nowadays what's going to work. I mean, Transformers makes like $2 billion every.
Oh, there's no question that it'll make money. It's a question of whether it'll be worth the money that it makes. You know what I mean?
Oh, it'll be a piece of garbage. I guarantee you, it'll be a total Hollywood piece of garbage. But it'll make a ton of money.
We're watching kind of the renaissance again of Megan Fox. She went away for a few years. She was one of the only good parts of This Is 40. She's beautiful again. She's
crawling back to Michael Bay.
Yeah, she's going back to Michael Bay. She's now she's I've seen some interviews with her, and she's actually funny. And Jamie Foxx had that thing where he did Ray. I was just thinking about this when we were talking about Spawn. He did Ray, and he has this sort of iconic project, and then he used the sort of buzz that he got off of Ray to do, masterpieces like Stealth.
Right.
And it's kind of tough that you get a second run at this. And now Jamie's getting the second run. I think he's choosing a little better this time. A little more supporting roles and things like that. But and now it's Megan Fox. You kind of have to wonder why she's got a little good buzz going right now. Why go back to the Michael Bay well? But it's what she probably has back end, and she'll make $100 million off the movie. Right. Oh, she definitely has back end. Am I right, guys?
Hi-oh.
Yeah.
Ew. No, I felt like I had to bring that up.
Yeah.
So we'll see. She's gonna be dressed in yellow. She's gonna be a reporter, and I was a huge Ninja Turtles fan. Sure. I was probably the biggest Ninja Turtles fan of all time. In 1991, you can't find a picture of me when I was age 6 or below without a Ninja Turtles shirt on. I mean, I'm serious.
Same here, man.
That's all I would wear.
Yeah, I was a huge fan as well. My brother and I had for Halloween one year, my dad built us shells out of like cardboard and some sort of, I don't know, some apparatus to hold it onto our backs, like an old backpack or something. And we would just run around all the time with these shells and Ninja Turtle costumes on and all that. So I'm following this pretty closely because I love the Ninja Turtles. I think it's really cool that there's a new show on like Nickelodeon or whatever with the Ninja Turtles. So I would hope that this movie is not horrible, but it's got Michael Bay in it. So yeah. I don't know how to believe that it won't be. You know what I mean? So
Michael Bay. Let's not forget that Michael Bay is doing another Transformers with Mark Wahlberg. So,
is that really?
He's got both those. Yeah, T4.
Yeah, I didn't know Wahlberg was involved.
Yeah.
He is, because apparently, Michael Bay and Mark Wahlberg had such good time together filming Pain and Gain, which is coming out this year, that they decided that they both wanted to team up again for Transformers.
Well, here's the thing about that: if you're gonna make movies, like Wahlberg is one of those that he'll do a movie like The Departed, and then he does 7 movies that are like Contraband, things like that. If you're gonna make those movies, then you might as well do it with Michael Bay, because at least you know that movie's gonna make $400 million. And I mean, if you're gonna make crap movies, at least make the ones that are gonna make a ton of money. So, well, I mean,
it's gonna be weird to watch Mark Wahlberg bench press a Transformer.
And play basketball with Bumblebee.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, say hi to your mother for me. All right.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I got one more thing to bring up for news.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've heard about this, but this is a movie in the making for apparently since 2002. Richard Linklater.
That has to be good.
Are you guys familiar?
Yeah. Yes.
Are you guys familiar?
Huge fan.
He's I'm a huge fan of his. Him being a Texas guy and him making such great films such as Dazed and Confused, Scanner Darkly, School of Rock, and one of my top 5 of last year, Bernie, which is a great movie if you haven't seen it.
And Before Sunset and all that stuff.
He has Before Sunset, absolutely. Anyway, he has been apparently working on a movie since 2002. He has been following a child since 2002, and he's going to film. And this movie takes place over a 7-year or a 9-year period of this kid's life, and so he's filming every summer for 9 years with the same kid, and the same actors are going to play his parents. Ethan Hawke and Patricia Arquette are playing his parents every summer. So it's going to be a literal. You're seeing this boy grow up from first grade until college.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
It's really, really interesting and could be groundbreaking. Yeah. It's apparently not going to be a documentary. It's apparently going to be a real movie with lines and a story. But it's, obviously not done with age makeup. Right. It's going to be the real deal.
That's really interesting.
Really creative.
I was wondering about the documentary standpoint, because have y'all ever heard of or have you ever seen any of the 7 documentary series? The guy he does a new documentary every 7 years with the same. It's like 10 kids that he talked to when they were 7 years old or something like that. Have y'all seen any of these? Maybe I'm talking.
I haven't.
It's really cool. I've seen like 1 or 2 of them. I think the most recent one is like maybe 56 or something like that. That just came out last year. But it sounds kind of similar to that. It's very interesting. So that's cool. I hadn't heard that stuff, Kent. So thanks for bringing that to the table.
It is, and I'm sure it's one of those things that a lot of directors in Hollywood and producers have that idea for forever. Of course, that'd be ideal to literally film a kid as he's aging, but no one's able or willing to commit 9 years to a project, or say, okay, I'm going to block off every summer for the next 9 years to do this one film. And that's great, commendable, and hopefully it works out. It's called Boyhood, working title. So look out for Boyhood. I'm not sure the date that it's going to come out, but apparently pretty soon. I think it's one of those things. That's why he did Bernie, because he's doing these small little films, in the meantime of working on it. And so, I'm really excited for it. And so I thought I'd bring that up.
That's cool. You can only get this stuff at Mad About Movies, guys.
You can't.
They can't do what we're doing.
You guys, I just blew y'all's mind. So, anything else you guys want to bring up in movie news before we move on to our review of Argo?
No, I think that's good.
Great. Well, stay tuned right after this for our review of Argo. Hey, man, fam, question for you. Do you own a small business, or are you a boss? Are you looking to hire awesome people, but you just can't find somebody to fill that role? Well, let me tell you about ZipRecruiter.com. With ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to 100+ job sites, all with one click. In fact, over 80% of jobs posted on ZipRecruiter get a qualified candidate in just 24 hours. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all sizes to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. That's why ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike other job sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them. Right now, you can post your jobs for free on ZipRecruiter by going to ziprecruiter.com/mad. That's ziprecruiter.com/mad. One more time, try it for free. Go to ziprecruiter.com/mad. Thanks to ZipRecruiter for supporting this episode of the Mad About Movies podcast. Hey, what's up, ma'am fam? Kent here. And yes, if you're hearing from me, you know it's time to talk about Blue Apron. If you haven't tried out Blue Apron by now, what the heck are you even doing? Blue Apron is the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. They deliver fresh meals straight to your door. All the food is fresh, it's sourced from local farms, and there's no wasted ingredients. I've been a Blue Apron subscriber for a long time now, and they have still, to this day, never let me down. There's tons of variety. Some featured upcoming meals include summer vegetable and egg paninis, soy glazed pork and rice cakes, skillet vegetable chili with cheddar drop biscuits, holy crap, and garlic butter shrimp and corn with green bean salad. So take it from me. Try out Blue Apron now. Go to blueapron.com/mad. That's blueapron.com/mad. Get 3 meals on us for free. Nothing goes better with a movie than dinner. So check out Blue Apron. blueapron.com/mad. Blue Apron, a better way to cook.
You need a script?
Argo, science fantasy adventure.
Moonscape, Mars, desert.
They need an exotic location to shoot.
You need a producer.
If I'm doing a fake movie, it's going to be a fake hit.
All right, guys. Well, this is obviously a movie that is very popular. And it's a movie that has been out, I think, how many months now, Brian, has this movie been out, honestly? It's been out since, I think, September? October?
I think it was October, yeah.
And it is it's currently mid-February to late February,
Right.
as we're recording this podcast, and it's still in the theaters. I just checked.
Yeah, my friend Steven just saw it for the second time last night.
Right. So this movie, obviously a huge success on pretty much every level, as far as a commercial aspect goes. But Brian, do you think it deserves all the money it's made?
Yes. Yeah, I do. I love this movie. I think it's great.
It's made $128 million in the U.S.
That surprised. I mean, it surprised me that it got that big from having seen it when it first came out. It does surprise me that it took on this much, but I think it definitely deserves it. And it always makes me happy when a movie like this or Zero Dark 30 or Lincoln or Django even. I mean, not traditional blockbusters make that kind of money. I think that's cool. And it shows that, to me, it shows that there's a market for films that are mainstream films that are still very smart and important and intelligent, that people will still see even though there's not explosions. You know what I mean? Things like that. So,
even though there really is explosions in Argo.
Right, but not like Expendables or Good Day to Die Hard explosions, you know. So
right, and that's what's kind of appealing about Argo is that it's no one knows what it is. It's not a comedy, it's not an action movie, it's not a drama, it's not a thriller. It's not, it's so many things put into one. It's just how would you describe it, Richard?
Well, as much as you guys like this movie, I hated it. No, it was my #1 of the year. So I probably liked it more than both of you. I would say maybe I even will, thinking about it more and after especially discussing last week with you guys about Zero Dark 30, I'm more than willing to give that a top nod as well, because it's excellent. What makes this movie great, and this is kind of cliche because the director happens to be a celebrity, but is the direction. There are not a whole lot of movies where you really notice direction, but I sort of judge direction by a few different things. To me, the mark of a really good director is efficiency, and there's not a wasted frame in this movie. It just gets out when it needs to get out. It's incredibly well paced. The other thing I judge out of a out of a director is the ability to get really good performances out of an entire cast.
Sure.
And so obviously there's great actors in this movie. You have a lot to work with when you have, Bryan Cranston and John Goodman and Alan Arkin.
Yeah.
But this director made Ben Affleck a good actor, which is impossible. No, I'm just kidding. But no, but the performances are all great, including Affleck. Even though I think he was a bit miscast, he plays the part really well. It's just a great movie. It's one of those movies that I think historically most people kind of know that story, or at least know that kind of the ending of it. May not know the particulars of it, but know the ending of it. And you kind of know that, spoiler alert. We didn't do our usual spoiler alert.
Let's
Yeah,
wait
go
for
ahead.
spoilers. I was about to say we'll wait for spoilers, so let's try to keep it spoiler free right now.
Okay, so even though audiences know the ending, whatever that ending may be, it certainly keeps you on your toes throughout. I mean, I was pretty well informed on this. I had read the book, and I was still literally on the edge of my seat, pins and needles the whole time, rubbing my arms together because this is so well paced and so thrilling. And then it's so almost theatrically, breaks those really nervous moments with some really excellent moments of genuine humor, which is such a neat little flair. And it's a grown up movie. It's a movie for adults.
Yeah.
It's a grown man put on your big boy pants movie, and a smart person movie. And it's just excellent to see that those can still make money.
I think that's the best way to put it. I think it's a blockbuster for grown-ups. And
Yep.
I love that terminology. I think that's very appropriate here, because you're right. The pacing is perfect, and the way in which the movie, I mean, it starts like with a bang and immediately puts you on edge.
I wanted to say the beginning, the way the storyboard, they use storyboards and a narration at the begining to kind of narrate or set the background of this story, and then they kick it off immediately. Right in the action.
And it never really lets up on that. I mean, like Richard said, there's a few little breaks from a comedic standpoint, but even in those, I feel like I just watched this again yesterday. And I was struck by how even in the moments that are clearly there, not only for the narrative purposes, but also to give you a little bit of break from the intensity, you feel like the characters know how serious everything is that they're doing. When they go to Hollywood and they're working with Goodman's character and Arkin's character, even those guys, I mean, that's the more funny parts of the movie. You can feel almost a tension in the room with them because this is what we're doing is kind of ridiculous, but the reason we're doing it is so so serious and so important that it never lets up with the intensity from very beginning to the pretty much the last frame or close enough to it. So
I agree with that. Anything you guys disliked about the film? I'll just spoiler free disliked.
Sure. Man,
There was a lot of foreigners in it.
It's hard for me to pick out too much that's wrong with it. I mean, the second time through, you do notice a little bit, kind of what Richard was saying about Affleck is kind of miscast a little bit. And that comes out, I think, just a little bit more on multiple viewings. But that is to me, that's a small. It certainly didn't impact my enjoyment of the film a second time, let alone the first time.
Yeah, Richard, anything you dislike besides the foreigners?
Yeah, as we know, I'm a xenophobic film watcher. No,
I mean this is number one. So this is pretty much a flawless film.
Yeah,
right.
It really is. That's what I mean. That's why I say how well directed it is, because I never felt like it was a scene too long, a second too long. It was just like so efficient. I mean, it's just you get in, you literally start running and you sprint 200 meters and it's over. And it's like, whoa. I judge movies by how often I'm not one of those obnoxious people that like checks my phone and like texts and emails the whole time, but I do check the time because I just kind of want to know what time things are, because I'm in a rush. I'm a busy guy. No, I don't know. I hate not knowing what time it is. I don't wear a watch. I should. Anyway, I didn't check my phone once to see what time it was to kind of see. I kind of also judged the runtime. Oh yeah, okay, we're an hour and a half in here. It should be third arc coming up. Third act coming anytime now. I didn't do that once with it, and it's just a really efficient movie. It's a breathtaking. I mean, literally a breathtaking movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot needs to be said for how clever a lot of this movie is. And anything, I'll mention one thing right now, but be thinking of just a scene that stood out to you guys.
Okay.
I wanted to mention the scene right at the beginning where they're coming up with the name, the idea for the movie Argo.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love that the whole maybe the first 20 minutes of the movie, if I'm remembering correctly, is pretty much an action movie. It's pretty much a Hollywood political thriller action movie, like a la like a Born Identity or something like that. It's just very dark, very fast-paced action, and then all of a sudden comes this lighthearted comedy, kind of I want to say nostalgic. Buddy comedy,
Sure.
Aspect with John Goodman and Alan Arkin,
right?
But it's done, and it's just so refreshing, and it's so necessary to drive the other half of the story, and it's so entertaining, and I just felt like I was so entertained for the first beginning setup of the movie, but when this other storyline came in, I was still so like Richard said, so intrigued, and that really stood out to me as
that's a really interesting historical era to follow. I mean, it's a little Cold War,
right? And
it's a little the fall of the Persian and the rise of the more Arabic people in Iran and so fell the Middle East. My girlfriend is father is Persian and left actually during that time. Left around during that time. I haven't had the chance to really talk with him at great lengths about that. I look forward to getting to do that. But it's a time where a country went from being European to a lot more Asian or Middle Eastern or however you want to consider it, and this movie kind of studies that in a really micro way about this one little story, and it's a story that still affects us now with these kind of Muslim led countries and how they affect world power dynamics, things like that, and to study that through like this Hollywood, obviously it's a true story, but to study it through this Hollywood story with this comic relief and stuff is really, really American and kind of an interesting juxtaposition with the humor, studying this really kind of morose people that these people are entrapped by.
Yeah,
I agree. I think it's an era that not a lot of filmmakers will make movies about. Obviously, we don't see a lot of Cold War movies being made. No. It's not. I guess it wouldn't be considered by Hollywood standards an entertaining era.
Yeah.
No.
So the fact that the most entertaining movie of the year was about that era is ironic and funny in itself. And it's about Hollywood. It's about the system, and it's about deceiving the public, and it's just so it's really clever. It's such a we talk about Ben Affleck's direction and how good he is, but I mean, I feel like when he saw this script, he just jumped for joy because it's such a not only a great thriller by movie standards, but it's such a statement to Hollywood and it's such a bold movie to make, and such a statement. It says such a big thing about the current situation in Hollywood right now.
Right.
So,
and the power.
It's very relevant. Yeah.
Yeah.
And although what's Affleck's first movie, Gone Baby Gone?
Yeah.
And The Town, I don't think quite rise to the level of this movie. I really admired the fact that he we can see through all three of his movies, makes movies for adults, and doesn't really condescend to anyone, and kind of does what he wants to do and makes really interesting, good movies. I think he's kind of the most interesting, non blockbuster director going right now. I mean, and so it'll be interesting to see what his next move is.
It will. I had heard that he's very hot in high in demand right now.
Yeah.
In Hollywood, I'd heard that they've been begging him to do Justice League, and he said no. And they have been begging him to do Star Wars 7, and he said no. So we'll see. So
was he the choice over Abrams, or did they choose Abrams over him?
I think Abrams.
I think they probably put in calls to everybody, and Abrams had initially said no.
Right.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm sure once he said no the first time, they were like, "Oh, well, we got to at least make calls." So I know that they approached Guillermo del Toro. This is another conversation, but I know that Affleck, his name was brought up many times.
Have we heard rumors about what he may be doing next?
I know he's got another Dennis Lehane adaptation. Dennis Lehane, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, is the guy who wrote the book for Gone Baby Gone and Mystic River. I know he's got another one of those coming up. I'm not sure if I read that was his next movie or if that he had just bought the rights to it or something like that. I know he's got that in the works, but I don't
think he's
have
doing
his...
I think he's got a couple movies in post right now, acting wise.
Yeah, he's in that new Terrence Malick movie. I know that, but I was just curious, director wise.
Yeah, I haven't heard. I'm sure we'll talk about it on this podcast, so stay tuned for that. Whenever we find out the news, because I'm sure he's getting scripts thrown at him like crazy, and I'm sure it was like after he did The Town. I mean, that was a great film,
right?
Not as good as Argo, but it was a great film. And so I'm sure after that he got scripts thrown at him like crazy, and Argo was the very best one. So that's what he did,
Well, and he's gotten better every
time.
Yeah, and he's showing that he's learned from his mistakes as an actor, in the way that he's selecting his movies. I mean, he's not. That's what got Affleck in trouble over the last decade. It's not that he's not a talented actor. He is. I still don't think he's a great actor, but he's a talented guy. It's just that. He parlayed Good Will Hunting into a decade of horrible movies and didn't seem to have any kind of standard for what he should be in and what he shouldn't be in. And I think he's to me, he's showing that he's learned from that mistake and in the way that he selects his movies and has progressed from Gone Baby Gone to The Town, which The Town's one of my 10 favorite movies from 2009. I think it's incredible. Definitely not up to the standard of Argo, but it just kind of shows the trajectory, that his career's taken and the way that he has been selective about what movies he picks. And
was The Town really 2009?
It may have been 2010.
No, I mean, I believe you. That's just amazing to me.
Yeah, it was a while back now. It was 2010, not 2009. Excuse me.
I wasn't trying to correct you. I was on.
No, you're fine. Yeah, but still, one of my favorite movies from that year. I think it's a great movie, but I like to see the way that he's progressed, and to me, it shows great. It shows great character on his part to say no to the Justice League movie, because no one needs to say yes to that until we at least see what Superman's going to look like, what post-Nolan Batman looks like, all that sort of thing. Anybody who takes the Justice League movie right now, A, is probably not going to end up being the director when that movie actually does get made, and B, will probably regret it if for some reason they are the director of that movie. You know what I mean?
I heard it was because of I guess Ben Affleck is really involved in the Warner Brothers studio system,
right?
And so that's who's trying to. I mean, that's their baby. Is Batman, and Superman. So we'll see there. But I heard the Justice League script was awful. I heard they're rewriting it, so that probably speaks to why he said no to that.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to mention that stood out before we go into spoilers?
I'll say one thing that I picked up on this last time through while watching it. One of my favorite scenes in the movie was really more to do with the post-production and the editing and whatnot. But as without getting into a spoiler, as the stuff's getting serious, and we're getting to a point of a make or break on whether or not Affleck's character is going to be able to get these people out of the country. Everything falls down around them, and it cuts directly into When the Levee Breaks from Led Zeppelin, and it's perfect. Like I was laying on the couch watching the movie yesterday, and I just started laughing to myself because it was just such a perfect cut, and to me showed part of why Argo is so great is because of little details like that, which that was kind of a funny little detail, but I felt like they went out of their way to make sure that everything about this movie was as detailed and as right as it needed, as it could be. You know, everything seems very realistic, seems very in keeping with the time, even to the extent of, you know, at the end of the movie in the credits, they show pictures of the actual people that were involved with this, and all the actors really look like those guys, which I know is, maybe I shouldn't be so, hey, they actually look, and be excited about that, but I didn't feel like they had to do that, since not hardly anybody knows what these people really look like. You know what I mean? You may know the story, but you may not know what these random these random guys from 1980 look like, but they went out of their way to make sure that the actors looked that way. Things like that, to me, is part of what makes it such a good movie and so deserving of all the attention that it's getting.
And it's a movie that I think the SAG Award was really fitting that it won for Best Cast, because aside from Alan Arkin, who, I mean, we all love Alan Arkin, but he's pretty much always Alan Arkin.
Right.
Everyone else in that movie is a character actor.
Yeah.
I guess maybe besides Affleck too. But Goodman, and then all those, you know, what's his name that plays the Canadian ambassador that's in everything?
Garber. Victor Garber.
Yeah, Victor Garber, who I always think is one of the more underrated actors.
Sure.
I mean,
Titanic,
everyone.
Yeah,
Man. Alias. I wonder if Jen got him that gig. Because he was her dad on Alias, and then her husband directs Argo.
Right.
Anyway, but it's just a movie full of kind of people that we'll probably never see again. Tate Donovan, ladies and gentlemen. Right. Remember him? He was Hercules.
The OC, man.
He dated Jennifer Aniston in the 90s.
Kyle Chandler.
He was, exactly.
Kyle Chandler is one of the underrated ones, too.
We'll see him again. But there's so many people in that movie that I don't know if we'll ever see again. And it's just kind of a cool. I mean, it's not they'll never work again, but they'll probably be not in a movie that high profile and have a pretty sizable part in it. It's just kind of a neat, just a ensemble cast and everything works together. I mean, you forget, well, you know, on the second viewing, oh yeah, Bryan Cranston's in this and he's awesome.
Right. Yeah.
You know, there's so many.
You forget that one of the producers was George Clooney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whom Ben Affleck forgot to thank at the Golden Globes, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't cross Clooney. This is a movie you would almost expect Clooney to direct given the subject matter, but I'm glad he did.
Definitely, yeah.
Because I think Affleck's a little better director, but Clooney
I would have liked to see Clooney starring in it with Affleck directing, maybe.
Yeah, that's true.
That would have been great.
At least than Affleck.
I would have loved to seen Clooney in the scene where he's drilling the Canadian, or the, I guess, wannabe Canadians on their identities, on their new names. That would have been a great George Clooney.
Sure.
George Clooney moment. Sorry. I can just picture that. Anyway, anything you guys want to mention before? Anything else before spoilers?
That's all I got.
That's good.
All right, guys. Spoilers for Argo coming up right now. Okay. Anything you guys want to mention as far as the ending? This is a movie that leads up to a lot of tension at the towards the last act. Yeah. And arguably, there's several peaks in this movie. Mm-hmm. And most notably, I want to mention the airport scene. Yeah. What you guys think about the airport check-in?
I thought it's the best scene of the movie. In a movie like this, I think it's important that you have a moment like that really hits the high as far as the tension and the drama goes right at the end. As example of that not happening for me is a movie we'll talk about in a few weeks, Les Mis. The best scenes in the movie take place fairly early on, in my opinion. And so it's kind of a letdown from there and from a dramatic standpoint. to have that scene where Scoot McNairy's character, who's been the kind of the whipping boy of the whole group for the majority of the movie, comes through with this moment of not just bravery but awesomeness too. You know, I mean,
when he speaks
really,
the other language. Yeah.
I mean, he just busts it out, and it's great. It's a heartfelt moment. It's a triumphant moment, and it increases the tension at the same time as making you really excited, not just for the movie, but also just for his character. You know what I mean? It feels like that character gets some redemption in that moment, and it's just an awesome sequence of events. So for me, that was the best scene in the whole movie, and I thought it was obviously placed perfectly.
Richard, thoughts on that scene?
It's a great scene. I think it's the best sequence of the year. I mean, it's just so nerve wracking and it exhilarating.
I don't know if we're counting this is part of that scene, but the part where they're actually on the plane and you don't know if the wheels are going to make it off the ground.
Right.
I mean, that's something that's so obvious that, I mean, they were going to, but like, hey, let's make it seem like the wheels might not come off the ground before.
It's relentless.
It is. It's like, hey, we can get one more really tense moment in here. You know,
well, to me, that speaks to what we've been saying this whole time of how incredibly well paced it is, because I didn't really know this story going in, but you have to know just from a Hollywood narrative standpoint. Obviously, they're going to get out safe. I mean, it would make for a pretty depressing movie if they are able to keep the plane from taking off and then they all just get executed. So obviously. They're gonna.
That would be great.
Yeah, totally.
That would be shocking.
Yeah. But so obviously they're going to get out, but it's still so tense and so well paced that when they finally the stewardess hits the seatbelt sign or whatever and says we're going to be coming around serving alcohol, and I exhaled. The whole cast makes this big exhale. Okay, we're free, and at that moment.
Drunk.
Yeah, yeah. In that moment too, I did this, deep breath and kind of realized I have really barely been breathing for the last hour, and I think, it's Hollywood, and it's kind of on some level it's a little bit cliche, but if you're gonna do cliche, then that's the way to do it, I mean,
that's why the direction is astounding. The script's really good and it's great, but it's a story where they're going to get out okay. It's a pretty formulaic story, really. I mean, it's brilliantly written, but it's really formulaic. What sets it on that other level is that, honestly, I'm sitting there the whole time. It has you so nervous and so almost pessimistic that I was like, gosh, I've read this story a million times. Do they all live? Okay, let me think.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe they're still over there. I know Carter was present. I'm going through the whole thing. I'm like, surely they're all going to live.
Right.
And then forgot a criticism I didn't like. The weird Jimmy Carter narration over the credit.
That's true. Yeah.
The one good thing he probably did as president. But and that he was had to be, his administration had to be conned into agreeing to.
Right.
But it's just so well done that they take this really formulaic thing, this A B C thing, and just have you question, well, does C come after B? I don't know. I'm nervous. It's just great.
It reminded me a lot of Apollo 13 in that aspect of.
That's brilliant. Good job.
Yeah, I didn't, because I remember seeing Apollo 13. I think that came out in '95, so I was 12.
I think you stole that from me, Brian. Right?
Oh, did I? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
From the radio show, maybe.
Oh, okay.
I might be mistaken. You might.
Well,
I think I mentioned that, but maybe.
Yeah.
Not.
Well, Kent Garrison said that it reminded him of Apollo 13. And I thought that was apt. But I remember seeing Apollo 13 when I was 12 or 13 years old, and sort of knowing in the back of my head that, I think these guys made it out, but also not completely sure of that. And then as it built and built and built, you, in the moment, you forget that in some ways that, yes, this is a true story, and yes, they got out, and you start to really question whether or not it's going to happen. So I think I mean that as a great compliment for Affleck and for the movie as a whole, of the ability to take you out of the moment, out of reality, and put you into the moment on the screen. was really cool and really an underrated aspect, I think, of how good this movie is.
Yeah, I agree there. Another scene it's part of that scene. Another thing I wanted to mention on that same topic was how they're cutting back the whole time to John Goodman and Alan Arkin, who can't get to their office because a scene is being filmed.
Right.
And so this whole time you're like, just go, just go. It's so tense, and it's just like you want to punch the screen. You just want to leave. You know,
There's
it's
like
just
8 MacGuffins of what's going to be answered or not. Who knows? And just driving you nuts watching. I mean, it's just like it's really a roller coaster of a movie.
It's great. It's great every time, even if you've seen the movie.
Yeah,
you know what's going to happen. It's still good every time. I mean, the way it's paced, man, on that last action scene is just great. Great stuff, and that scene alone is Oscar worthy. So,
definitely.
Good. Great stuff. One more thing I wanted to mention, unless you guys had any other thoughts.
No, I'm done.
It was the whole. I mean, and I'm sure this is real. This is taken from real events, but the whole thing where the pictures of the identities were shredded, and how they're assembling them periodically throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Yes,
and it's just one of those things, that Ben Affleck heard about. And was like, oh, that's great.
Yeah,
that's going to be so good to be able to cut back to that.
Right,
and they're assembling it a little bit at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that coming right when they start assembling it. You're like, oh, well, I know they're gonna reveal one of these identities at a key point in the movie.
Sure. Yeah.
And when it happens, it's satisfying.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say that was really a good Hollywood. A good way to take something that really happened and to put a good spin on it and to not overdo it. And it was great, and it was entertaining.
And like I said last week,
go ahead.
Ken.
Sorry.
No, Brian, you go first. Okay. As I said last week, I've never been prouder to be a Canadian in my life. Even though I'm not Canadian,
Right.
I've never been prouder to be one.
Right. Yeah, they come off pretty well in this whole thing. So let me ask you guys: where do you think it's going to fall on Sunday during the Oscars? Do you guys think it's going to win, or are we going to come back and talk next week and talk about another movie taking home prize?
I'll say it does have a good shot. The fact that he's not nominated for Best Director is, it's the only thing that could hold it back. Maybe I could see Lincoln winning. I could see Zero Dark 30 winning, but that's it. I mean, those three. If anything wins except those three, I'll be very surprised.
Yo,
what do you guys think?
I think it's Argo's to lose. I would be like you. I was. I think my
maybe Life of Pi might be the upset.
Yeah,
I can see Life of Pi being a very Hollywood movie,
right?
Like an Avatar-esque.
Well, my initial opinion when all the nominations came out was that Lincoln was going to take it just because you never see a movie win Best Picture if the director's not nominated for directing, and so. But I think the momentum for Argo built up so much over the last 2 months that I don't think there's any way that it's.
I think this might be the year that trend breaks. That the Academy says, "Hey, we don't want a correlation with Best Picture, Best Director anymore."
Question: is it two separate votes? Is there a nominating vote, and then they get the nominees and vote on a winner, or is the winner the one that got the most nominations? If you know what I mean.
I read an article on this a couple of days ago, and I think that is correct. I think that they put out the nominations and then cast the vote, but
okay.
I'm not entirely sure.
If that's the case, I would think Affleck not being nominated for director would almost work in that film's advantage.
Sure, yeah.
Because people are almost going to be like, "Wow, we messed that up," and so he gets Best Picture.
Right?
Let's give Spielberg director or Bigelow director and give him picture. So
right.
Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I think I think I saw a stat that said the last time that a movie won Best Picture when the director wasn't nominated was Driving Miss Daisy in 1988, I think. So that's 25 years of
it has happened.
So. Yeah, of history.
We'll see.
Before, so
this is one of those years where every movie is just too good. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, any movie that's nominated, I can be honest and say I wouldn't be would not care because they're all great movies.
Yeah.
Silver Linings Playbook. Maybe Les Mis. I would be mad if Les Mis beats Django and all that. Yeah,
I'd be pretty upset about that too. Yeah.
All right. Well, Brian, let me ask you this.
Yep.
Where can I find you online?
Hold on, Kent, we got to do our recommendations, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you want to do
recommendations?
You want to do this?
Totally,
you want to do this right now? You want to do it? All right, guys. Brian, kick things off. The recommendation.
Sure. I'm going to give you two very quickly.
Sure.
One is actually I took a recommendation from our own Kent Garrison and watched a documentary that's now on Netflix. I rented it, but now it's on Netflix, so you should definitely check it out. It's called Side by Side. It is narrated by Keanu Reeves. Don't let that turn you off. But it's about film, and he interviews multiple high-profile, big-name, recognizable directors and talks to them about the filmmaking process. And it's fascinating. And it's very enjoyable. It'll give you a lot of information. For myself, I didn't go to film school or anything like that. I know a lot about movies. I honestly don't know a whole lot about the filmmaking process. And this was very enlightening in a lot of ways. It starts off with a discussion between the difference between shooting on film and shooting digitally, and then it kind of progresses into editing and cinematography and 3D and all these various topics, and it's like an hour and 40 minutes long, and it's well worth your time. If you're listening to this podcast, then obviously you're a film fan or you're my mom, and you should definitely watch this movie. So I definitely recommend that one. And then I also just very quickly would throw a shout out to a movie that I just got done watching, called a little indie movie that came out last year called Robot and Frank. Is
that Frank in the background?
No, that's the dumb dog. It stars Frank Langella, and it's set in the near future. It's about an aging crook. He used to be a burglar who gets this robot. His son buys him a robot companion, and he discovers that the robot is really good at stealing things, and so he starts using it in his schemes. And it's not a great movie, but it's very fun and lighthearted, and the concept is very interesting. So highly recommended.
Great. Yeah, I've seen Side by Side, and I just want to say great movie. Like Brian said, if you're interested in film at all, you should definitely check it out. It's a subject that I think we could do a podcast on eventually. Just the future of where cinema is going, and I think this Academy Awards speak a lot to that. Especially the cinematography category. Seeing films in 35 millimeter being nominated, like Django Unchained, as well as Skyfall, which was probably the most beautiful movie of the year, arguably. Yeah. And it was shot digital. So, and Tarantino's one of the guys that has denounced digital ever since it came out. He said it's basically like filming it on your iPhone, which I think it's ridiculous in a lot of ways. But definitely check out Side by Side. It talks about 3D and where cinema's going and where it's been, and it's great stuff. So definitely good recommend, Brian.
Thanks. Yep, and thanks for the heads up on that one too.
Yeah, definitely.
Mine is a TV show. I am all in on FX's The Americans.
Oh,
Speaking of Cold War, we said a Cold War Argo app. I'm really into The Americans. I haven't seen last night's episode yet, so I'm only 3 episodes in, but really liking it. Really liking the lead actor, Matthew Rhys, I think is his name. Something Rhys is his last name. Kerry Russell's good. Just a really cool look at and I looked at some research today and found out that the creator was actually a CIA operative. So now I believe that this is all true.
Right.
And I'm just completely I'm locked in. I love Cold War stuff. I love Russian spies and things like that. So the 2 greatest words in the English language to me are Russian and spy. I just think that's fascinating, and I'm really I'm in. I love it.
That's good. I watched the pilot, and I haven't been able to. I've got them all on my DVR. I haven't been able to watch the rest of them yet. But I'm with you. I think Cold War is one of the most fascinating periods of history, and I love the pilot. I thought it was great. So I'm glad to hear that it's holding steam.
It gets better, I would say.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Did you check out the House of Cards pilot yet?
I I did.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Did you? How'd you like it?
I've watched the first 2 episodes now, and I love it. It's everything that I was hoping for it to be. Spacey's great. The cast is great. I love the turn to the camera and narrate bits. I think that's
the Ferris Bueller style.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. It caught me off guard, and I was
the
just
Shakespeare thing, man.
Very
style.
Shakespearean, and I loved it. I thought very good stuff. I can't wait to. I'm thinking about watching it right now. So that's the.
I actually heard. I was reading an article. I can't remember exactly the site. Forgive me. But they were saying that Netflix, the company Netflix, literally saw that people loved watching Kevin Spacey and loved watching political dramas and also loved David Fincher. And so they were like, hey, David Fincher, you should make a political drama with Kevin Spacey. We think it would do really well.
Yeah.
And so there you go.
Win. Yeah.
Frank Underwood, man, all-time great.
So
character
I mean,
already.
it's literally like one of those things where they're tailoring your tastes for you.
Yeah.
And I mean, Netflix is groundbreaking in the technology of being able to predict your tastes. I mean, they've paid people millions of dollars to figure out algorithms to predict taste, and I think they do a great job. I mean, every day I get on there and it's the suggestions for you. Mm-hmm. I always find stuff on there that I like. So
sure. Yeah,
great service.
Whichever one of y'all said it was totally right on House of Cards. It's a show about politics that has nothing to do with politics in a lot of ways.
There's no policy in it at all. It's all about power and things like that.
That's why it works for me. I mean, it's so because I hate politics so much, but I am completely enthralled by everything that's happening on screen. It's
one thing. Last thing I want to mention about it is intriguing, and I don't know if it's a spoiler to say this. Coming from someone who's seen it, the good guy is not really a good guy at all.
Right.
And so, I mean, that's all you need to know.
Yeah, it's Richard III. I mean, it's
Kevin Spacey in American Beauty, but a politician. So it's great.
Like Brian said, I mean, he's a Democrat, but that doesn't ever come up. Like he could just as well be a Republican. It would make no difference to the show.
Right.
It's really just a club to which they belong. I mean, all he does is undercut Democrats to try to move up in power. So it doesn't.
I mean, you say he could be a Republican, or he could be in Parliament, or he could be in the Galactic Senate. I mean, it has nothing to do with party politics, and that makes it watchable for me because otherwise I would bash my TV in probably.
Nice.
Sorry, Kent, your weekly recommend.
I would like to recommend, and I've been meaning. Speaking of Netflix. I've been meaning to watch this show for a long, long time. And I finally got around to watching, I would say, 4 or 5 episodes this week. Mm-hmm. And that show is Doctor Who.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you're familiar or a fan.
Which Doctor are you watching? You start at the very beginning.
I'm starting at the rebooted Doctor Who. So 2006, David Eccleston.
Okay, is it Eccleston? Okay.
It's the beginning. I think Eccleston's only in there for a few episodes.
Okay,
and then Tennant takes over. But I'm still on Eccleston. But I went to a sci-fi Dallas Comic-Con convention a few weeks ago. Shout out to Kathy Goolsby for hooking it up for the Mad About Movies podcast for that. But while I was there, I was so overwhelmed with the amount of Doctor Who stuff that was there,
right?
That I got to the point where I couldn't deny it anymore, and I just had to watch it.
Yeah,
it was probably more Doctor Who stuff than there was Star Wars.
Wow,
honestly,
that's crazy.
It's crazy. So I checked it out, and let me just say this show is crazy. Yeah, that's the right word. Pretty much anything you can think of, they can do in the show. I mean, the premise is that this Doctor Who basically has been present in all time. I mean, he's kind of like a god figure on the show, and he can go anywhere with the TARDIS, which is this police box like phone booth. It's like a time machine, a spaceship. So he can go back in time, and he can go in the present anywhere he wants, like to any other planet he wants, and he can go 5 billion years in the future or 5 billion years in the past. So that sets you up for pretty much any storyline,
right?
That you can imagine.
I'm more of an Inspector Space-Time guy, but go
this
ahead.
show,
Yeah.
and this show. I mean, this show. Anyone that's seen the show knows it's absolutely cartoonish in every aspect. It's such cheesy sci-fi. It's British, British comedy. It's crazy. If you're a fan of sci-fi or British shows, check out Doctor Who. I'm sure I don't have to tell anyone to check it out. It's a huge popular thing. So I just want to say I checked it out. So. It's time for everyone to bite the bullet and do it as well. So,
all right, it's been on my queue forever, and I think my holdback is that there's so much. There's so much. There is so much,
and I would suggest. I started from the first episode, which I don't know if I would suggest because there's probably better stuff. Tweet at us if you know. Tell us where to start as far as Doctor Who, because I don't know.
Yeah, that's good.
But it's worth checking. It's worth. Really.
Yeah, she knows. She's seen it.
There's a huge fan base. It's crazy. It blew my mind. So I'm getting into it. So be prepared for more Doctor Who updates on the podcast.
Exciting.
All right, guys. Well, all right, Brian. Where can I find you online?
Yeah, I'm at bgill12 on Twitter, and you can find my writing at thesoapboxoffice.com.
Richard?
I'm at Richard Barden on Twitter, and you can find my zero writing. I need to get back on that. Start writing some stuff at richardbarden.com.
And I am Kent Garrison. You can find me on Twitter at Kent Garrison, Kent, like Superman Garrison with 2 R's. And you can email the show at madaboutmoviespodcast@gmail.com if you have a complaint or a suggestion for a topic. And please subscribe on iTunes and find us on Facebook. Just search for Mad About Movies Podcast.
Or if you're an Android user, find us on Stitcher.
Find us on Stitcher and iTunes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And iOS. That's what I mean. And iOS. They have Stitcher. Find us on Stitcher. Find us on iTunes.
And in real life. Find us in real life as well.
Hey, leave us a review, and we'll give you a shout-out. We promise.
Yeah. 5 stars.
Thanks. Well, and I will say that the podcast has been more successful than I had initially imagined at this point. So thanks everyone for listening. And,
we're bigger than Doctor Who, I think.
We are. We're on a straight path towards that. So thanks everyone for the support. If that's all we got.
Yes.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Until then, we'll see you at the cinema. Goodbye.
Bye.